When people think about organized crime, they imagine violence, guns, drugs, assassinations. But the most powerful criminals of the modern era didn't build their empires with weapons. They built them with paperwork. And few people understood that better than Semion Mogilevich. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Eastern Europe entered a period of historic instability. Entire economic systems were dismantled almost overnight. State-owned industries were privatized at record speed. New democracies were created before laws, regulators, or enforcement mechanisms could catch up. For Western investors, this was opportunity. For organized crime, it was something even better. It was a financial vacuum. Mogilevich recognized that money laundering wasn't just a tool to hide crime, it was the crime itself. Whoever controlled the flow of money controlled everything else. Born in Kiev in 1946, Mogilevich was trained in economics, not street violence. From early on, he believed that intelligence mattered more than intimidation. His rule was simple. Illegal money only creates risk while it's visibly illegal. Once it's cleaned, it becomes power. His first lessons in laundering came long before the fall of the USSR. In the 1970s, Soviet Jews attempting to emigrate faced strict restrictions. They often had to sell property quickly and move funds abroad through informal channels. Mogilevich positioned himself as a facilitator. He would sell their homes at market value and arrange the transfer of money. The money never arrived. What mattered wasn't just the theft, but the process. Mogilevich learned how trust could be weaponized, how assets could be converted quietly, and how financial crimes rarely attracted the attention that violent crimes did. By the 1980s, Mogilevich had become the primary money launderer for the Solntseevskaya Bratva, one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Russia. While others handled enforcement, he handled structure. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Mogilevich expanded rapidly into Central and Eastern Europe, establishing his base in Budapest, Hungary. Budapest became the command center of a multinational laundering network that stretched across Europe, North America, and the Middle East. Unlike traditional crime syndicates, Mogilevich's organization resembled a corporation. There were departments, layers, jurisdictions. Criminal proceeds moved through carefully designed pathways, passing from illegal activity into legal markets with minimal friction. At the center of this system was a single company, Aragon Limited. Aragon was registered in the Channel Islands, a jurisdiction known for secrecy, low taxes, and weak oversight. On paper, Aragon was an international trading firm. In practice, it was a laundering hub. Money from weapons trafficking, fuel tax fraud, extortion, prostitution, and securities manipulation flowed into Aragon. From there, it was routed through banks in London, New York, Geneva, and Stockholm. By the time the money reached the United States, it appeared to be legitimate international business revenue. This wasn't sloppy laundering, it was institutional. One technique Mogilevich relied on heavily was trade-based money laundering. Fake invoices were created for goods that were overpriced, underpriced, or never delivered at all. Money moved across borders disguised as payment for trade. Customs officials saw paperwork, banks saw invoices, nobody saw crime. Another technique was structuring. Instead of moving large sums that would trigger regulatory scrutiny, Mogilevich broke transactions into smaller amounts. These transfers were sent to dozens of individuals and shell companies, particularly in the United States. Each transfer looked harmless. Together, they moved millions. Real estate played a critical role. Mogilevich invested heavily in properties across Europe, using them both as stores of value and as laundering instruments. Real estate allowed him to park large sums of money in assets whose value was subjective and difficult to audit. Properties could be bought, sold, renovated, or refinanced, each step creating an opportunity to legitimize illicit funds. Nightclubs, restaurants, and casinos served a similar purpose. These businesses naturally dealt in cash and fluctuating revenues. By overstating income or fabricating expenses, illegal money could be blended seamlessly with legitimate earnings. In Budapest and Prague, Mogilevich's entertainment venues functioned as financial washing machines. Dirty money went in, clean money came out, but Mogilevich understood that true power came from banking access. In the mid-1990s, he quietly gained influence over Inkombank, one of Russia's largest private banks. Through secret arrangements with its leadership, Mogilevich gained direct access to international financial markets. Inkombank wasn't just a bank, it was a passport. Through it, Mogilevich's money could move globally under the appearance of standard banking operations. This wasn't laundering at the margins. This was laundering through the core of the financial system itself. When Income Bank collapsed in 1998 after coming under scrutiny, the damage was already done. The money had moved on. Mogilevich also exploited public markets. Through YBM Magnex International, a company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, he orchestrated one of the largest securities frauds of the decade. Investors believed they were buying shares in a legitimate industrial company. In reality, YBM Magnex functioned as both a fraud and a laundering mechanism. Investor money flowed in. It was routed through subsidiaries, offshore accounts, and shell corporations. Then it vanished. When authorities raided the company, its market value collapsed almost instantly. Nearly $1 billion in shareholder value disappeared in hours. For investors, it was devastating. For Mogilevich, it was already over. By the late 1990s, U.S. law enforcement began to understand the scale of his operations. The FBI traced wire transfers from Europe into front companies in Los Angeles and Pennsylvania. Many of these companies operated out of residential addresses. Some had no real employees, others had no real business at all, yet everything looked legitimate on paper. In 2003, the FBI placed Semion Mogilevich on its most wanted list. He was later elevated to the 10 most wanted. Investigators described him as the financial brain behind a borderless criminal empire. Still, he remained free. In 2008, Russian authorities arrested Mogilevich briefly on tax fraud charges related to a perfume retail chain. He was released on bail. No extradition followed. Russia does not extradite its citizens to the United States. Since then, Mogilevich has lived openly in Russia, avoiding international travel. The U.S. State Department now offers up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest. But the most unsettling part of his story isn't that he escaped justice. It's how he did it. Mogilevich didn't hide in the shadows. He hid in contracts. He hid in corporations. He hid in legal markets. He didn't rely on secrecy. He relied on legitimacy. Semion Mogilevich understood that modern crime doesn't fight the financial system. It uses it. And that's why, decades later, much of his money remains untraceable.